I always like to bump into a gaming related convo, and every now and then. So, if you haven't heard, basically the biggest game that all the Twitch streamers are playing these days, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And what people might not know about it, because the game is just so good, people just focus on, I guess, to give it some bit of background for those who may not know. Expedition 33 is a RPG game that's turn based, of all things. That's just like immaculate. I think the best way to describe it, I haven't actually watched anyone do like a full playthrough, but I think the best way to describe it, it gives, what you call it, Final Fantasy vibes, like Final Fantasy 7 vibes. Um, but obviously, even that, to the fact that that's would work in 2025 is pretty crazy. And it has an interesting origin story of all things. I'll read some of the article, but effectively, the story was the devs of this game were former Ubisoft devs that were bored. Oh man, you already y'all know how I feel about the gaming industry. So when I saw this, I'm just like, ugh, doesn't surprise me at all. So I'll read a bit of this. So this is by what is this again? Dexter. Yes. So, Expedition 33 director. Ooh, that's a name on him. It's some French there.
Roche.
We'll call him GB. Revealed in an interview with the BBC that he decided to leave Ubisoft and create a Game of the Year contender, purely because he was bored of working at Ubisoft and wanted to try something new. It's already a hell of a introduction, and it's so interesting because I really wish the gaming industry would like be better at like marketing what it's actually like. Like everyone when they're a kid, they want to make a video game. Everyone that plays games, they want to make a video game. They want to be a part of the gaming industry, myself included. But then you actually hear testimonies from actual like game developers, and you get stuff like this. So going to say, though, Expedition 33 is selling over 1 million copies after being made by a core team of around 30 people, which is also impressive. You guys seeing like the graphics and the detail of the game is enough of a story to make a dev cycle stand out from a standard AAA game development. Tales of this game origin make the story even harder to believe. Pardon me. Game director GB and writer Jennifer, is that a V? Svedberg, both spoke with the BBC about the topic, revealing that the process of getting the team together was even more unlikely than people initially realized. Before they secured funding for the project, GB was securing dev talent and making a pitch deck by putting out posts on Reddit, so it's Reddit, and putting a team together through online forums. Like, again, we're just kind of going through it and understanding and learning the story. But are people like, and again, maybe people that aren't in the know, are people like processing what's going on here? We have a game that is legitimately like a lot of people's favorite game so far this year. It's definitely going to be a Game of the Year contender. It was made by a band of 30 stoners. A guy reached out on Reddit and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about putting together a game. Anyone interested?" On little social media, and they're putting out a game that absolutely obliterates the competition of AAA developers such as Ubisoft. So, Svedberg had never even voice acted in a game before. Again, new raw talent. She just thought it sounded like a fun idea and decided to submit a voice demo and throw her hat in the ring. I was like, this is a quote from her or them. I don't know. I was like, I've never done it. I've never done that. It sounds kind of cool. So I sent him an audition, she explained. One thing led to another, and she ended up becoming the lead writer of the story that is in large part praised because of how strong the core narrative is. Lauren Testard, the Expedition 33 composer, got recruited by GB thanks to interactions in SoundCloud comments. Are we listening? SoundCloud. The director attributed the unnatural penchant for recruitment to massive luck, paired with people being in lockdown at the time and wanting some new creative outlets. So I guess if they do want a bit of bail, is that the team? Oh, look at that, the core dev team, handsome looking group of people. Um, yeah, that's the other part to this story. I guess you could add to the puzzles. It was you could also attribute it to lockdown, which I would say a lot of people talk about how the pandemic was like miserable for them, and in no way do I want to be dismissive of what they went through, but a lot of people came up during the pandemic. It was very like copacetic time. I'll read a little bit more of this. I think we already kind of get the fact that this is some wild stuff that a small dev team made such a great game when it's just a shame. Putting a larger corporation to shame. Regardless, many of the people working on the title either had no experience. All these companies asking for 5, 10 years of experience. Look at this. Working in game development at all, or had very little. The team was made up of mostly solely of junior members. We have, I think, an amazing team mostly of junior people, but they are also incredibly invested in the project and talented, said the director. Somehow it worked, which still makes no sense to me after all these years. I don't think it's making sense to us either. When GB found Stanfall and made a site, he started with a simple blog post. Well, we don't have much to share now, other than what we shared on the main page. It's the very beginning, but rest assured, this blog will be oh so amazing soon. Stay tuned. Almost 5 years later, it turned out right. While Clair Obscur Expedition 33 would have been a massive feat regardless of how big the development team was, the accomplishments of the team are made even more impressive considering the unlikely origins that became 2025's Game of the Year. So, what more could you want to know? You literally have a person that was in even though we say Ubisoft lull because of their in recent years product that they put out, I think people were satisfied with the last Assassin's Creed game. I have to go back and look at the reviews, but you literally have somebody that was in a top tier company in his industry, was bored, whatever that means, and went on to do his own thing. And he just basically using social media, got a bunch of stoners, and put it together, and now is making one of the best products in the literal industry. I mean, it's where do I even go from there? When y'all hear this and knowing what y'all know about large corporations and maybe in some sense the output of smaller teams. What do you make of this story? Do you think this will be reflective of potential change in an industry like the gaming industry, where large companies won't be at the forefront of making great games anymore? Do you think what do we make of the fact that them being bored at their company led to this? It's kind of open ended, but I guess what do you think of this story, and what does it make you think of the gaming industry at large when you hear a story like this? I'll start with you, Ace. I want to know what you think.
I think I called this. Not 100%, but I've said before that I think creation of probably not just limited to games, but media in general is going to be able to become more diversified and not limited to these massive companies with thousands of employees or whatever churning out the same game after game, movie after movie, whatever. I think and I said this in terms of AI, how I think AI is going to be able to help smaller teams be able to um, do as much as these AAA companies have been doing in the past, and put out new, unique games, and open up more competition in markets like this. So if it's even if it's not game of the year, people have much more variety and are able to get into stuff that is unique and is not the same thing churned out over and over again. Um, so Yeah, I mean, I I'm I'm not surprised per se. Um, I can certainly understand the, the how fortuitous a lot of these things were, and how everything came together. How he was able to recruit people, or how, how the recruitment process was. Um, but um, I I do think I mean, it sounds like it came down to pretty much one person's vision for um, creating something new and different, and getting tired of the same old, monotonous thing, and following that vision through. Uh, Seems to be, like, the overarching um theme of this. And yeah, I I mean, it's dope that it happened, and I think it's going to continue to happen.
Looking at a story like this, do you think it even makes sense to like look at like the larger game developers and companies to turn out like bangers, or would it make sense for smaller teams to be putting out the things that capture people's attention?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with larger companies is they are beholden to shareholders
Yeah.
who want guaranteed return on investment. And that guarantee right now is coming from, um, not pay to play, but like, models like Fortnite and things like this, where it's a subscription,
Microtransactions.
and exactly microtransactions. People are just constantly, paying over time. This is the type of thing that is guaranteed for shareholder, in a shareholder's eyes. And I mean, you can certainly have success from a gameplay standpoint as well, but I feel like that almost comes with um a lack of creativity kind of baked in, because all you want to do is keep the person attached. I mean, you want to keep the person playing for as long as possible, but you're at the same time, you're like, as long as you can entice them with these gambling, roulette machine type mechanics,
Jesus.
that can be just as successful. So, whereas with with smaller devs, the focus can be more so on um creating a good game for gameplay's sake. But it's not like they don't want to make money too. Um, but I think, like, if if it gets to the point where, like, okay, it is easier to make games, then it also doesn't have to be that smaller devs, like, primary source of income either. Like, it it could get to the point where they are still able to support themselves, but are able to do this type of thing. um I don't want to say on the side, but as
Mm.
maybe a secondary source of income or something like that. So so that gameplay first and foremost can be the focus.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense for better for worse. Um, what about you, Wes? What do you think of this story? Hearing, literally a guy that disassociated from being at the top tier position to doing his own thing and making a banger. And I guess not to make you look the music guy, but also kind of what do you think of it in terms of like, because when I look at this, it really comes down to the moral story. A lot of times is like creativity breeds results as far as financial, but it seems like to what Ace was saying, like a lot of companies are averse to that, to kind of stick with the same old, even though that doesn't necessarily work. So what do you think in that as relation to like? Do you think this is a problem that could happen? You think this is something that could happen with like musicians as well? Like their label want them to, or maybe not their label, but like some entity wants them to make music in a certain way when they want to do their own thing, but which could easily lead to results as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I can't speak too much on the game aspect, but as we said, it's more of a creativity question as a whole, and plus, like you said, music and stuff like that. So, but I will say I won't, there's a certain advantage to uh not only like side projects or passion projects that big companies don't have, and that is the approach that the creator comes to when they're doing something that is more like a hobby than a job.
Mm-hmm.
Because even I mean, in any industry, like even in working in aerospace or whatever, like when you're in a big company, you got to do stuff that's like red tape and nonsense. Like I had to do so much jurisdiction and classification foolishness that had nothing to do with engineering. Like,
Yeah.
and when you're in a small company, you don't worry about those things so much. You're just making a product. Like, you're making the thing. You don't have to worry about all types of different types of workflows and whatever and this and that. Like, there's a lot that can be streamlined. You should be structured, but there's a lot that can be streamlined, and that gives you more freedom to be creative.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, the approach that you come to these projects with is a completely different, or can be a completely different mindset. It's like, yeah, when you're just interested in the thing for its sake, when you're just interested in music for its sake, and you don't necessarily have the label on you or whatever, or you are just interested in telling a story, writing whatever for its sake, and you don't have a publisher on your back about deadlines or getting this out or whatever. You approach it with, what am I trying to do? What story am I trying to tell? What experience am I trying to get people to have? And there's a lot less associated with it, red tape and things like this. So I think that part of it might have been the big motivation and the big reason that the game is so successful and so creative, and people appreciate all these different aspects of it. Like, I really think that, like, there's obviously a good thing about approaching something, whether it be from a business standpoint or from like an academic standpoint. But when you're a hobbyist and you're just approaching something because you love it and you just want to get deeper into it, there's almost uh yeah, there's a freedom to mix things, mix influences in a way that a person who's traditionally ingrained in something is not necessarily going to do or look for. And at the same time, it can be a disadvantage because there can be a lack of rigor or a lack of motivation because there's no financial incentives. But it's a completely different wave, like the two different things. And I think that's why you get that creativity popping out and doing what it did in this situation. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, and it it speaks to the thing I'm saying. But
Mm.
my opinion that I'm forming, I'm not sure of yet, but I don't know, I'm pretty sure of it. Like, is it that art in general shouldn't be tied up in business or money, if possible, if at all possible. Like, people shouldn't be making livings off of art
That is a hell of a hot
because it
take.
automatically it adds a certain element of, I'm just trying to make a living. Like, you do things that you don't necessarily like, most people, for their job, because they need it to survive. Like, it's not necessarily that 100% of your job is a passion. And when you introduce money, you get that mix. So, like, in the past, you had art that was funded by independently wealthy people. They were patrons of an individual, and that individual knew that they were going to be able to live off of the patronage of one person, or one institution, and then they made whatever they wanted. Like, they were much more. liberated. It wasn't they weren't scratching and scraping for every meal. And that model actually makes a lot more sense. Or even like, now the Patreon model, where your fans are giving a certain amount per month, whatever. But it's not necessarily the same scrape and scratch for every penny that you would be doing, or even like you locked into a deal with a record label. Like it's not the same. Like it's not the same quality, even though they are still surviving on their money. On their art. It should shift if possible. You should try to decouple these things where the person can pursue their thing, if possible, full time, but also it's not every output that is directly linked to dollars, because that just mixes things up. But that's another conversation, kinda. But yeah.
Hey man, that's definitely a hell of a hot take, which I like because I like coming around here and get uh, gleaming hot takes from stories that we go over. So we're not sticking on the story per se, but having a deeper conversation. There was a couple things I really want to respond, but was there something you want to add or respond with that goes?
I'll save it for when we actually have a full on discussion. But I definitely don't agree with some of the points you were making in regards to your hot take, Wes. But I get it. I get it on some level, but we don't have to get into it. That aspect of this now, because this is kind of a different discussion.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, no, I actually like the way you broke a lot of that down. It that provides some level of relatability and just like you're right. Like larger companies, they definitely have like a guidebook that they are trying to adhere to. But when you're just working with some folks that you met, like you're free flowing. Hey, let's try this. And I was listening to something. I forget what it was recently. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was like how like writers and producers of like show how they worked. And I think they were speaking to the fact that like there's like a lot of decisions making in that process, and I wish I just thought of it tangentially when we were talking about this. I didn't have it queued up, but I think one of the things they were kind of going into is like when you're working with a large corporation, they're very invested in like you making the right quote unquote decisions. Like you have to we have to make this right decision. We have to make this right decision, opposed to when they were just creating content from their own like as a passion project. Like you still have a million one decisions to make, but you can operate more on a like I'll make this decision, and if it's not necessarily the best decision, we can fix it or we can try something different. I think that's one of the distinctions that working with some of these smaller teams opposed to working with a company that like Ace was saying, they are beholden to shareholders and they have to follow certain guidelines, are held back by. And last but not least, Ghost, what do you think of this story? What does it make you think about the gaming industry in general? Does it surprise you? Does it shock you at all?
So, on a base level, I mostly agree with everything you guys just said, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little because I think we're being a little too kind and a little too optimistic in regards to this success story and
I think
how
I
it.
know what you're about to say.
Uh, yeah, I mean, like for this amazing success story where it kind of was cobbled together during the pandemic, blah blah blah. Great story. I agree. It's super great for the industry. How many hundreds of thousands of stories exactly like this completely failed and bombed, and we don't know about it? Like there are plenty of indie games that have seen a lot of success, but there's also a whole boatload of them that don't do well at all, or even if they're not trash games, they just don't gain any traction for whatever reason. And I think that overall, it can be kind of dangerous to extrapolate too much from this one success story because one thing that we're
Dangerous.
dangerous in that it this
Don't go
isn't
thinking. Basically, don't go
necessarily.
thinking you'll do it too.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily the model that's one size fits all, and I'm gonna
I'm
quit
sorry.
my
What is
job
the?
at a
Oh,
bigger
okay.
a bigger company and do this because I think I'm gonna have some more success. Because I think one thing that's very important here is the lead guy, the lead developer on this that left Ubisoft because he was bored. Like I get it, it doesn't paint Ubisoft in the best light, but at the same time, like you can't ignore the fact that working at a bigger company with all the resources and all the experience he has was he's able to parlay all that knowledge directly into the creation of this game. And there was valuable knowledge that is gained at larger corporations and larger companies that kind of, I don't want to say can't be mimicked in a smaller situation, but like if I like the one advantage I think that we would all agree that a larger company would have over indie spot is dependability as far as job security and resources and connections. You kind of know what you have because it's an established company and things are really, I don't say set in stone, but there's a whole backlog of stuff that you can go into that you've done before. You worked with these people before. You have connections. You have I'm trying to think of the word. You have a reputation that in an indie company, again, a lot of indie companies, you will not have those same advantages. So if you hit a roadblock, you hit a snag, you don't catch this exact perfect set of circumstances, could end up crashing and burning, and you don't have anything like a larger company to fall back on. You don't have any real investors in the project outside of you and your small team. So even if you have a great vision, it might not end up working out because of stuff like this. So again, like at the end of the day, I'm saying all this, and I do think it is at its core a good thing, and kind of speaks to the fact that yes, these larger companies do need to change their mindset and their workflow and certain ways they approach things. But there is a reason why these things were established in the first place, and even if it's led to kind of a shitty gaming industry, as you often uh, call out Quest,
It's awful.
it's not all bad. There are definitely some good things and some positive things.
There hasn't been
So
any
I
good in
think
a long while.
I guess we don't have to get into the. Well, I'll just say sure, fine. But
The interesting, crazy thing is it kind of, again, not to fully get into it, kind of go lends to Wes's point though about like how having some of these uh like large backings and some of these things that a large company will have maybe isn't something that should be 100% coupled or tied to a creative process. Like, yeah, we acknowledge that a bigger company is going to have those resources and, all the things that come with it, the experience, the name, the reputation. But it seems like in some cases those things don't even necessarily help you with the if the end game of is creating something that's truly memorable, something that people will thoroughly enjoy, something that's just a creative piece of work. And again, in this day and age, don't even like something that's profitable.
to some extent, like I just think it's being a little too optimistic, a little too positive for these success stories.
And to that
How
I
point,
get you.
go ahead, Wes.
No, no, I was gonna say I get you, but I directly oppose your your sentiment because I feel like people should be allowed to fail. And yes, go quit your day job. If you're in a country like France or the U.S., quit your job and try it. Like
That's
you won't, you'll be
what?
fine.
we
What?
are
No, listen,
firing up
No, no,
hot
no, 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 no,
takes.
no, no. Hold on,
listen
hold
to what I'm saying.
We got
on. Wait,
the
Listen to
hot
what I'm
take
saying. Listen to
machine
what I'm
gun.
saying. Listen to what I'm saying. You okay? For example, these
Didn't
people
Joey
were already in
Badass
the.
once famously say,
All right,
"Don't
at
quit
least
your day job"?
no, at least this guy, if a similar situation, a guy who was in the heart of a big gaming studio, he had the job, he knew what he was doing clearly. He wanted to try something. He should be able to try it and fail. If he fails, what is he gonna do? Go get a job again? Like it's not, especially here. And I'm not. Maybe I'm speaking because because I'm here. But no, you'll be fine. Like you will be fine.
Well,
And
bro,
and all these failed experiences. Like what is actually being lost here? We're talking about video games. Like I could see if you say, don't go making cars on your own because people might die or whatever. But ultimately, this is a creative endeavor. Go try it, like, or at least you try it on the side, part time. Maybe quit your job if you do the calculation. Don't just do it willy nilly. But yes, try it. What are we
I
talking
think-
To be
about?
fair, Wes,
I think
you can't give
you're.
advice that's like your environment specific.
No,
Like,
but everybody in this industry is in a specific environment. I
oh,
mean,
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
not
No,
just talking. I'm just saying, like you said, and for those who don't know, Ubisoft is based out of France. But and maybe even in the United States, maybe that's gonna fly. But the hardworking brother in like South America is just gonna be able
Okay.
to. Is
no,
this
no.
gonna,
This
gonna
is
be good
this,
advice?
you're talking about literally giving your life to artistic endeavors. These are all artistic crafts. This is games. This is music. This is movie making. These types of things. You already know what choice you made for your life. Like,
What?
I feel like
Wes,
if you're already in that
here-
position, like all these things, yes. All right. I'm not saying okay. Do a calculation. Make sure you're good for X
Risk.
amount
That's
of
the name of
months.
this
you
episode.
just
Yeah,
you just
of course.
do a
Risk.
calculation. My whole thing,
Yes.
like in an ideal world, Wes, yes, 100%, I'm on board with your take, but you're
You acting like
what do
this
you-
guy
what do you-
is a day laborer.
no, Wes. I think
you-
nah, you're kind of being. You can't just
Dude.
say like, oh, there's no risk in failing, because I get on some level when you talk about risk, like we were given on the example, like you're not manufacturing cars, you're not going to do something that if it fails, it hurts people. But from a personal standpoint, how many people are equipped
Yes.
Again,
to
hurts
quit
my
their
eyes.
job? And this isn't just, oh, you're doing an artistic endeavor, you have this nest egg, you just go back to your job if it doesn't work out. Well, this is like the equivalent of starting a business in that it's going to take a significant investment of capital and time. It's not. I'm
Okay.
kind of being nerd. There's not. It's
Right.
not a blanket case every time. But if you really are
Exactly.
dedicated, you're really committed. I agree that there needs to be some level of risk that you do take in order, if you really want to see that true success. But that is not blanket advice that everyone should be getting, because again, how many examples of not of
They should be able to fail.
They
Okay,
sh- well,
listen
they
to
should
what I'm
be-
saying.
they
Listen to what
should-
I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Not everybody's going to get to the point where they can quit their job. But if you're already considering this thing, you have an idea for a project, you've considered how much you have in savings, whatever, be responsible, of course. But you should be able to, take that option. You should see a game like this that succeeds and say, I had this thing that I wanted to do all my life, and I'm going to at least start it on the side. I would say everybody should do that. If,
But
of course, if it gets to the point where you realize, all right, I need more time, I need more resources, can I do this for my current situation with my family? Of course, all these disclaimers about don't, if you have no money, you can't do it. If you spent all your money, you're in debt, whatever, you don't necessarily have this option. But I'm saying if you're already in a creative job like this, especially if you're tied in like this in a company like this, or a similar company, or if you're an individual who already has enough resources to try it out. You should, and you might fail. I'm not saying that you're going to succeed, but it's possible. You should.
I'll
the SoundCloud
I'll
rappers
just say
say,
this is a
like-
lot different than what you were saying a little bit ago.
You
That's
gotta
what
get the-
I-
you gotta
that
get
was
the
my
Kanye-
point.
you gotta get the
Exactly.
Kanye version of it
Exactly.
first, and then you kind of scale it
Exactly.
back. Not
What I'm
scale it
saying,
back, but explain it.
For the people, for the type of person who's even considering it, if for that means you're already in a situation. Normally, it means you're already in a situation where it is some type of possibility. And I think that if this thing gives people hope, good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Don't let your family starve. But at the same time, the context of these types of situations, like I said, if you're in a country like the U.S. or France and you're working in an industry, you're making decent money doing this type of thing, you're already in a selective group.
The other part I was thinking about, because I don't want to say largely, but I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, Ghost. And while you guys are talking, one thing I was thinking about was like this guy, the main guy, GB, he isn't no like average schmo, Joe. Like he definitely to be able to create this type of like story, this type of product, I don't want to gas him up too much, but he probably is like on bordering on like he has a very high level of creativity genius, creative genius. So he's he was probably well positioned in life to be able to create this type of thing. But the thing that kind of counters that goes is like this is like he was like literally on Reddit asking people like y'all want to work on this. Like he was literally at the bottom of the barrel, like looking for fucks. Like again, no one here, anyone would say anyone can do this and expect these to yield these type of results. But it's literally like he's literally basically on the street asking people, "Hey, you want to work on this game?" and it coming together. I think that does shed some light on the fact that it's a bit more possible than we would have imagined in previous times.
Yeah, all this I'm saying, I said it before, like I'm on y'all's side. I think that at the end of the day, this is a good thing to want to mimic. But I think there are just some things to consider. But again, like what you're saying in that just literally going online and just some random post, hey, I was starting a game, who's interested? Like
And that's free.
You ask these bigger companies, and something like that would seem like completely unfeasible. You need to have a whole vetting phase, which I mean you do, but it's a lot easier and a lot simpler than it's made out to be, and it's currently being done. I 100% would agree with that, but I think there are also some real caveats to consider.
That's the crazy part. Going back to what you were saying was like, yeah, if you're working for a company, in order to get like writers and VAs, you have to go through an entire like standard work instruction process, and then you can still get crap. It's just
Yeah.
And probably at the end of the thing, it still probably costs you like $100,000 up front. It's like some crazy figure for just getting them in the door.
Oh my god.
You know what this discussion kind of reminds me of is the not the entire thing, but just the whole quit your job maybe thing is remember that the RDC Dream House thing that we talked about like, way back.
Yeah.
Very similar, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think moral of the story for me is that gaming industry has to look at some stuff and really needs to reconsider things, but don't quit your day job just because of this, only because of this.
Unless you do the calculation.
Oh, you would do what these calculations, dog?
What do you mean?
Is my kid gonna be able to eat for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. Do you have your emergency 6-month savings or whatever? Yeah. Plus,
most people do not. Most people can barely get by a month. To be clear.
Yes, like especially in how we're living right now. Yeah, it is for a lot of people.
I'm sure Guillaume had emergency 6-month savings. Plus, in
Who's
France,
saying that, bro? You
get 6 months of unemployment at like 80% of your salary. It's not the same here and there, but I'm telling you, it's worth it.
You know what? One last point I was thinking about, to what I think you mentioned briefly, Ace. There's always this, I don't know how much they elicited in this production. There's always the back and forth conversation with AI, and I am actually, I don't know if I publicly said it, I actually am on the spectrum further to the end of the spectrum of like against AI and a lot of applications, but I think that might be shifting a bit more central in the sense that y'all know me, I watch a good amount of anime, and sometimes I'll just be watching something and like I'm just impressed by like the visuals, like everything in the background that they made, and I'm just thinking like, bro, how much time and investment did it cost to make this? Like, while
Yeah.
I think predominantly, I'm never gonna say when it comes to creative things that we should just leave it all to AI, but I think I don't. I think I'm getting to this point in my life where I don't think I would be against, hey, AI, make me I want my characters to be on like a spaceship, and I want it to kind of look like this. Like, give me a rough outline of that, roughly, because like it's just like if the quality of some of these things are already so like massive and like this high, and like what they're putting, what they're doing as far as the story with the characters, the details in the characters. If you just want to like a little help making the background forest, hey man,
Yeah.
That
I don't
really
know if
is
y'all
it.
have seen it, but there was some insane videos of like it was some stupid shit like Moses part in the Red Sea. They would do this is like a
Oh, I didn't
dude
see
doing a
that.
fake live stream that was AI, but like it looks like not real, but it's kind of insane. Like I'll get to that point too, where like I'm not necessarily pro AI, but there's a lot that it can do.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean like storyboarding and things like this. I even like I wanted to draw something. I had the concept in my head. I was just like, make me a quiz sketch, and then I was inspired by the sketch to draw my own thing. Like, is like if you're storyboarding or something like that, you say, all right, this is the general rough idea. You got your whole layout steps ahead, and you still got to do all the work, but it's just quick. Like, get this stuff out of your head and onto paper or whatever. It's crazy.
It just sucks because it's always that sliding slope. And in my ideal world, like I think AI should, and all technological advances should be like used in my mind. Again, this is me as like a calculator. Like it's like the just make the most, and obviously calculators these days have become wildly more advanced, so even that's kind of wild to calculate, but just give me like the basic arithmetic. Like give me, I don't want, like, we're in a day and age, I don't need to be bogged down by just kind of get a calculation. Just give me that efficient output that I can use to actually do my larger equations that I can use to manufacture my product. That's how I kind of look at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not literally like a calculator though, because AI is kind of bad at actual math. But
Oh
Two
my
plus two
gosh.
is five, is five actually.
We're getting away from the actual thing, but this is one show I listen to. They're talking about, and I've seen this sometimes when I'm, because like AI is also not the greatest when it comes to like trying to figure out like specifically like I'll be asking like where does the law like originate, and like is this law, I know this law is applicable in this state, but is it applicable in this state, and stuff like that. And the streamer was talking about like I don't know if y'all ever bumped into this. When the AI gets something wrong, it like will like apologize and then give you like
Yes,
kind of
yes.
right
This is why I
information.
don't trust it. That's why I don't trust it.
Like that's one of the craziest things that we don't even like really pay attention to. Like
The
give you
word
wrong information, because obviously the thing that we're asking is a very a nuanced thing, and it's not like a definitive answer. But just give you the wrong information and be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, based off this,
the craziest
No,
thing is that
I've
it can
told
give
it.
you a right answer and then you tell it it's wrong and then it'll apologize and
Oh,
correct
really? I
itself.
don't think I
Yes,
did that.
I've seen that.
Yeah, because it takes too much influence from what you say. Like, if you lead it a little bit, it's gonna be, oh yeah, certainly you're you're the smartest person in the world. But it's like, no,
exactly.
don't do that.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
I've told it to try to iterate, like to question yourself as to whether your answer is correct before telling it to me. I don't think that's a function that's possible because it was still saying BS. But
Anyway, not to get into a whole AI thing, I just find that like
slight
kind of funny, crazy.
slight other tangent that's semi-related. Y'all ever feel like when you're watching something, or because you kind of mentioned watching something and you see like how much details put into it, uh like if have you ever thought like how much you consume that is like people's life life work, or like, or even like the culmination of how much work people put into stuff, and we just
Yeah.
consume so much of it casually, and we don't like I mean, for me, I'll usually feel like we don't have that much output ourselves that we can be like proud of. Maybe that's
I don't
just
know. I don't know about that last part.
when you make
Yeah, the
content.
last part
when
I
you
don't
make,
know about
when you
that.
make,
I'm very
you know,
settled with
art.
my output in life, but I
I think when
definitely
you make art, that comes into play. But
I've started to like stop and appreciate things more because like literal like you watching like a show and like they got perfect impact frames and perfect like everything is um like well crafted and it's like we just consumed like 2 minutes of pure raw hard work and talent that took somebody like maybe upwards of like days or weeks to put together. So I definitely stopped and started to take more appreciation in that. But that last part, I'm content with my output in life, to be clear. Anyway, got off a few tangents, but at the end of the day, salute to the Expedition 33 devs. Um, I am always enthralled when a dope product comes out that captures the gaming industry's eye, and I don't want to say anything too crazy because obviously this has been in works since the pre-pandemic, but or during the beginning of it. But I think when we're talking about the type of game we would make, it's not one to one. And actually, there's a lot of things. Again, I haven't seen a full playthrough, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of things actually that don't necessarily. Like me personally, I don't know if I would love the game wholesale. I do think it's a great game and it's a game of the year contender, but I'm gonna say it resembles some of the things I was mentioning when I was talking about the type of game I would make, and I'll just leave it at that. We're talking about that. Anyway, if there's nothing else, we can move on.